So today we are in a 2015 Subaru WRX Limited. The Limited, I think, stands for a little nicer interior touches. It's got leather, just stuff like that going on in here, and a nice Sony infotainment system. The car from factory comes with 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, weighs about 3,300 pounds. This car is not stock. It's actually a friend of mine's. His name is Charlie. He let me borrow it for the day. It has some Eibach lowering springs, a Cobb shifter bushing, and a Cobb shifter lock, I believe he said, or shifter stop, which basically makes the shifter a little bit shorter and not take as much room, you know, moving side to side to first or to fifth. Just kind of makes the shifter feel a little crisper. From what I've found, it does feel like a very good shifter, actually. I'm not a huge fan of the stock shifters in these cars, so I actually really like this. His car also has the Stage 1 tune from Cobb, which makes supposedly about 25 extra horsepower and something around like 15 to 20 extra pound-feet of torque. So I don't know. I mean, if you guys don't know, these are all-wheel drive cars. Traditionally, they started life as like rally homologation type of cars from Subaru. And to this day, they still give you a little bit of that rally car vibe, even though Subaru doesn't really rally anymore. They've got a top-mounted intercooler up front to keep, the charge temperatures cooler going into the engine. And it looks pretty beefy. It's got a cool little hood scoop. And, of course, we've right away gotten stuck behind a truck. So I'm going to have to pull over and wait for him to get some distance down the road here. All right, we're back. So, like I was saying, it kind of has a little bit of a rally car vibe to it with the hood scoop, and from factory they're a little taller up, and they just feel a little cool, a little motorsport like. The back's got these quad tip exhausts that look really beefy, even though, you know, this has got completely stock exhaust, and I'll be honest, it sounds kind of boring. It's very quiet. You can hear a little bit of turbo noise. But you really don't hear any of the exhaust coming out the back, which, you know, most people modify these anyway, and Charlie's plan is to do an exhaust and I think a Stage 2 tune through Cobb to make it just a little more exciting to drive. Taking it in through a couple corners here, I will say for what is basically an economy car chassis, this thing is really tied down. I mean, Subaru they massage this car a lot from the basic Impreza. It's got stiffer springs, just revised suspension damping, you know, stiffer sway bars, all that kind of stuff. I think it's maybe a little lighter than the stock Imprezas, and all of that really does seem to make a difference. I mean, throttle response is very right now, especially for something that looks kind of mundane from the outside. You know, you wouldn't necessarily think it would be that great, but ooh, it actually, you know what's weird? It pulls really hard up top, like harder than I thought it would. This car seems to come alive over about 4,500 to 5,000 RPMs. Gonna bend it in slow for this corner, drop it down into second. Coming around out of this, and really, yeah. This is fun. I love that. You know, it's funny. This car at slow speeds around town, stuff like that, feels I mean, to me it feels a little boring. When you get it out here on a road like this and really start pushing it into some corners and get the speed up to where this car actually feels like it's having some fun, it shines. Man, this thing is good. It definitely feels quicker than I thought it would out here. Ooh, that was properly fast. Let's slow it down a little bit. brake wise, I don't know for sure if this is because the car has 43,000 miles on it or not, but the brakes feel a little bit numb, kind of, and yeah, you actually have to put quite a bit of pressure into them to get some hard braking. It's a little different than what I'm used to, but I mean, my cars also, both of them have less than 12,000 miles on them, so I don't know if that's just because, you know, my cars are brand new and I'm not used to driving something that actually has, you know, a few miles on them. The shifter's good. The clutch is pretty heavy for a modern car. That's not something I'm used to anymore, because a lot of new cars are just so easy. You know, everything about them is just light to the touch, especially my Miata. I mean, that thing has such a light clutch pedal, and the steering is super light, whereas this car feels just a little more communicative with the clutch pedal. And then the steering feels a little heavier, especially at load, when you're loaded up mid-corner. I like it. This is fun. You do, even with oh, I caught somebody. Well, I'll have to pull over. Even with the stock exhaust, I am noticing with lift-off throttle, I do hear kind of this burble, this bob kind of noise from the back, and it's really pretty enjoyable. I mean, this car, as it sits, would be super easy to live with. Let's just pull over here for a second and wait for that Fiesta to get a ways up there. Okay, let's go. I don't think we'll catch that Fiesta now. That's a second gear pull all the way up to red line, or close to it. It's got a it looks like 6,800 RPM red line. I just took it to 66. I don't want to really beat the crap out of it. A nice old Porsche. That was like a 912 or something. I don't know. It was an old one. I just love pushing this thing into a corner, and it feels like it kind of, I mean, it has that all-wheel drive shove coming out the other side. This thing's a lot of fun. I mean, not that I thought it would suck. I don't know. I wasn't sure if it'd be kind of worth all the hype that these cars get. I personally would have a really hard time not modifying this thing a lot and trying to make it into some kind of rally looking car. I love when you see these cars, like, maybe not lifted a little, but at stock ride height with some, you know, beefy looking rally style tires and mud flaps, and, you know, with a full exhaust and the tunes and everything. It makes them just really cool looking. Yeah, you just gotta ring it out. That's where you get all the power from in this car. It's weird. I guess coming into this, I thought this engine was supposed to be a little more of a torque-rich kind of lower, you know, down in the RPM torquey motor, and not something that I would really sing up top. But it's definitely no slouch up top. It actually is pretty much the opposite of what I thought it would be. Oh, I caught the Fiesta. Man, that really sucks. Well, what do? Do I sit behind him, or I just turn around? I'm just gonna turn around. There's no reason to follow slow people when you've got a WRX. This engine has their smaller of the turbo engines. It's, I believe, the FA20 turbo. The basic version of this engine without a turbo is actually in the Subaru BRZ and the Scion FRS / Toyota 86. And in those cars, it feels like a serious dog. This thing, it does not. Man, you rev it out and gosh, it feels properly fun around these corners. This would be such a good daily. Like, such a good daily. And that's actually what Charlie uses it for. He's got, he just recently had a baby, and actually, I don't know if you can see it, but there's part of the baby, or the child seat back there in the back seat. So he's, you know, true daily car for him. It's a really good daily. It's it's mature enough around town, so you're not going to be pissing everybody off. Stock, anyway. I'd piss everybody off because I would immediately modify it, make it loud. But then when you get it out here on these roads, even stock, like, yeah, I don't hear any engine noise. I do hear this kind of bassy, kind of burble out the back when I downshift or when I let off throttle, and that's really fun. That's third gear, bending it into this corner. It did, I mean, I didn't notice any real understeer, but it did feel like if I pushed it harder into that corner, it would have pushed a little bit. The rear end just kind of didn't feel like it wanted to rotate much right there, and that's something that's pretty common with these cars. They do understeer at the limit, at least from factory. I don't know if you can modify them a lot to make them a little more oversteer happy, but I believe this is a front-wheel drive biased all-wheel drive system. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong about that. I'll look that up after the there was that Porsche. That was a beautiful car. Felt a little bit of slip well, I didn't feel it, I heard it. These tires are pretty communicative, and in that corner I kind of got a little bit of a out of the front. It didn't lose grip, it just was talking to me. That's good. It's good to know. Driving this makes me wonder what the EJ25 is like in the WRX STI, because they haven't changed that engine in years, and it makes me think it's probably feels a little brutish. I really want to drive one at some point. As a daily driver, though, for an enthusiast that needs to be smart about things and be a little bit more mature in life and stuff, this is a really good option, especially considering you can get one of these in the base trim without all the leather and everything for, I think, around $26,000 brand new. That's a lot of car. I'm at 3,500, 4,000, and it is pulling. Oh man, I like this thing. The chassis is really handling the bumps in this road very nicely. And this road is not friendly to a super stiff suspension. So I'm having a lot of fun. This is how much, I don't know what else I can say about it. I'm going to drive for about another minute, and then I will end the video. I'm just glad I'm getting a run here without any cars ahead of me. There was a little bit of understeer, I noticed. It was a pretty tight corner, and I was going in just a titch hot. Not hot enough to, to push out into the other lane or anything, but I definitely noticed it was understeering a tiny bit in the front. That's not a bad thing. That actually kind of keeps stupid people from winning stupid prizes, if that makes any sense. Basically what I'm saying is it's kind of nice to have a little bit of understeer at the limit instead of too much oversteer, which can get people into worlds of trouble. Okay, I'm gonna end the video right here because it's already 17 minutes long, and I don't want to take too much time. I'll edit those boring parts out where I was sitting still doing nothing. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun in this car. I'm going to keep driving it a bit. Charlie's actually got my Miata right now, so I'm hoping he's enjoying that thing. And I will see you in the next video. If anybody out there has a WRX STI that they would like to make a video with, I would love to do that. We can talk cars and go for a drive. That's something I would like to see the difference of between this car and either a new or even one of the older WRX STIs. Have a good one. See you guys.